Hello, my loves, and welcome back. I am so excited to talk to the woman, the myth, the legend today around all things movement, community, identity, because she is just the queen of this. It's been so fun to see this woman blow up over the last few years and like really step into her power and then create that for other women. And so I'm so excited to bring her into this community. If you guys are new here, this is the Soft and Savage podcast where we talk everything being a soft savage and blending the whole sides of being a feminine woman and a leader in this industry. And that is something that this woman, Bridget James Ling, does so well. And so I'm so excited that you're here. Can you introduce yourself to our audience and anyone that is from your audience that's tuning in?
Laura, I'm so happy to be here. And of course it's soft and savage. When we were talking before we started recording, savage would definitely describe and soft the vibe of today, but I'm so happy to be here. I feel so blessed and so grateful. I created Freedom Queen. If you don't know who I am, which is a company that helps legendary women wake up to what is actually possible in their life, find God, and as a result of all of those things, externally, they become multimillionaires. Their work gets passed down through generations. They write best-selling books and they send the books out around the world. They reach the masses and they find out who they really are. And so I was just a girl in New York City in 2020 that woke up, found God, and decided to go on this insane mission and listen to God every single step of the way. And now we're here where we are today.
And you are doing that. And something I really admire about you is how much you bring God into your work. And that's not something until like the Freedom Queen live event, I even knew that that's something that you were pulling in. And like it was really prominent in that event. And I just loved every second of it because
Wow.
it's so true. Like when you find God, business, life, love, leadership, it is something where it's like it's not your own. You're just the
Yeah.
guide and you're walking
Yeah,
with it.
it's so much easier because any challenge comes up, maybe you're in the middle of a launch and it's not going as planned, but you have God, you have this bigger mission than just yourself, than just an Instagram post, and an algorithm, than a launch strategy. You tap into power that's outside of you, then you're able to do the impossible. Or I like to say what's impossible for most people is easy for you because you're tapped into this source, this power that for other people, they might default to scarcity and fear and worry, but you're tapped into this power that's like, yeah, but I've got God, so watch me. I can do absolutely anything. And that's just something that's been a part of my journey and been with me since day one. And it's transformed. And I really not just believe this, but know this. That's why myself, so many of women of Freedom Queen have been able to do things that for most people are impossible, but for them, they make it look easy because of God.
Yeah. And that really is your community. Like it's a whole bunch of humans that are like, I don't know, it just works. And it's like, it's so funny because I like think of like a whole bunch of people and I'm like, you guys are just like all these like shamans like out in the world. It just like pops off and happens. And it's so beautiful. How do you feel? You said you started with that from the beginning. Did you always feel confident in sharing about God since the beginning? Or is that something that's happened in your identity shift as of like recently or something?
It really shifted in 2021. So I had just finished my first year in business. And I remember it was about the end of the year. And I had just gone to my first ever conference where I got the tap on my shoulder from God to go put on conferences of my own. And I remember looking at my business and it was fine. It did my first six-figure year, my first year in business. I had clients, but I felt discontent. I felt like, God, there has to be something bigger than this. Like I don't want to just be online coach, making money. I call it like the ordinary coaching business where your soul goes to die. I felt like there was more than that. And I was looking at a lot of my clients who were human beings and they were working with me, but they didn't have a lot of passion like I had. Like I was like, you don't understand, like this business is not a want, it's a need. Like, I have to build this business. Like, it wasn't something shiny that I saw on the internet and I was like, oh, one day I'm going to start this business and I'm going to make some money from it. Like, it was a deep necessity. It was a calling from God to do this work. And I really believe, like, the women that go super far in this industry and your industry, whatever it is that you're creating, it's not a want or desire, it's a need. It's like a soul coded in your DNA calling from when you were birthed on this planet. And so in 2021, I was like, something's wrong, because I started this business because literally I got a download from God that was like, you need to teach women how to go for more, become free, become the queen of their life, and you're going to teach them how to do this. And at the time, I didn't have any of those things. And I was like, okay, well, I can't teach something I haven't done. So I need to do the thing. And so I hired a coach with money that I didn't have. And I invested in her. And really, that was investing in myself. And then I became that person. And so after my first year in business, I was like, this reality is not a match for what I had originally planned. And I looked at myself and I was like, Bridget, you're people pleasing. You're people pleasing. You're making it seem like building a business is easy when it's not easy. It requires effort and joy and passion and charisma and fun and play. But a lot of the clients that I had at that time didn't want to put in the work. They would come to me and say, I want to build a business, but I don't want to post on social media. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I have made a mistake. And I was people pleasing. And I would get on calls and I would say things like on social media, God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, no, it's God. And I also started to get really adamant about business. And I started to make content that was like, business requires action and effort and hard work. But you know what? I love it more than anything on this planet. And then I started, Laura, having my highest cash months. I started working with the best clients, and my clients started getting better results. And I know that it was because I started being radically honest with people. And this is where, like, I believe Freedom Queen was really birthed. Freedom is not about external freedom, like traveling the world and working for yourself. Freedom is about internal freedom, to be true to who you are. And the more that you do that, and the more you're radically honest about who you are, what you believe, what you think, the more successful you're going to be, because that's at the end of the day what everyone is looking for in life and relationships and business and client attraction models. People are looking for people that are true, that have a backbone, that are certain in who they are, even if they're different than them. Because it's so sexy to look at someone and go, you know who you are. I want some of that too. And so around 2021 is when I started saying, okay, screw it. I love God. I love action. I love business. This is the person that I want to work with. And I believe that's why I went from 2021, 6 figures, 2022, 680K. Like, crazy. But it's just because I set myself free and decided to be honest about who I really was inside and what I believed.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the cornerstone, especially where the industry is going now with the rise of AI and things like that. It's being able to be unapologetically yourself so that it activates other people into action. And it is something that you were talking about. It's huge people pleasing. And I think that's something where I love about your brand. I love about the humans that, you know, are just following you, and in that brand are people that are so unique and like so themselves and say it how it is. And it's like, you've been pioneering that because you've been doing that. But I know that's a huge thing I see with my clients as well. It's just this like universe, God, source, whatever it wants to call it. I don't want to curse, so I don't activate you. I don't want to do this because I don't want to trigger you. And it's like, no, what you need to do is trigger people into action. And it is hard work. And this does need to be your baby or second baby and like things of that nature, and be wildly obsessed with this thing, that it is an embodiment of who you actually are. And it becomes an extension of who you are so that you can activate people into actually taking action. That's how you're going to get ahead.
Yeah.
I think that's the hugest thing. How do you feel? Because something I love about Freedom Queen is you have such an active community. Like we were just at FHL. You have such an active community. Like they're just like everywhere and they're so obsessed. How have you gone about building that?
Somebody ask me that at Funnel Hacking Live. They were like, you just move people. Like you say, come to FHL, people come to FHL. You say, okay, we're going to sell tickets for Freedom Queen Live and people buy tickets, or you could put together this army. And I was talking with Robbie about this at Funnel Hacking Live and a couple of my private mastermind clients, because I was sitting there at a table. It was me, Robbie, and then a close proximity client who's worked with me forever. And somebody came up to me and said, I did not prompt this. She said, Bridge, we've got you. We're going to sell out Freedom Queen Live. And I get full chills right now as I said that. And I was like, okay, I love you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's freaking do this. And I turned to Robbie and this other amazing human being. And I was like, I never told anyone to do this. I never said to her, you have to do that. I don't tell people to do things. What I'm really fascinated by is, can you be someone where people on their own decide to move for you, move with you, move beside you, without you having to say anything? And what I believe that is this bigger mission than yourself. I almost get like out of body as I'm saying this. It's like what we were talking about before, which is God. It's like, I'm not really sure exactly why, but I just know that I have to do this. And I'm not going to let anything stop me. And I'm not going to let anything get in my way. And I'm going to be so on fire. And I'm going to light that match of my soul in such a big way. And I'm going to go for things that most people are unwilling to go for. And what that does is it creates this ball of energy and light in the world where people are like, I don't know what you're on. I don't know what you're doing, but like, I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. Give me some of that. And when you do that, and you really become, I would say, the freedom queen of your life, you set yourself free and you ignite that fire bigger than anyone else around you, people will start looking at you and they're like, I want that too, and I want that too, and I want that too, because I believe at the core of what we're actually selling is wake up. No matter what you're selling, mindset, bookkeeping, relationships, business, strategy, finances, what you're really selling is, I believe in you because I believe in myself first. And if you want to be able to move people, you have to be able to move yourself first. And when you do that, people will go to war for you. I'm doing a training tomorrow on this, on becoming the hero of your story, becoming the legend. It's like, you have to be willing to go forward and fight for what you believe in and continue to pioneer, whether you're at the top of the mountain or you're at the bottom of the mountain and you're getting punched in the face and you're slaying the dragons and you're fighting the trolls and the giants. When you do that, people will fight for you without you even having to ask them to do anything. And a lot of people live in circumstantial power. So what I mean by that is they wait for their clients to move and then they'll move. They'll wait for their audience to respond and then they'll respond. And someone's a really big leader when they're not waiting for other people to move. They're going first. They're taking the action. They're launching the thing, the program, the offer, and they don't even care if anyone follows them. They're just like, I'm going to launch this thing. You know what? Because I want to launch a thing, because you want to launch the thing. And so where people mess it up is they spend so much time like this, back and forth with their people. Well, what do you want? Will you pay me? Well, I can't invest in that thing until Sally Sue down the block pays me. And what you're really saying is you have no power. Your power is in other people. But when you wake up to your power and find out who you really are, and you turn your inner compass towards your destiny, and you don't care if anyone else follows you, and you just continue on that pathway, other people will start going down that pathway. And then you're pioneering the path. And suddenly you look back and you're like, who are you? Who are all you hundreds of people that are coming with me? Who are you women standing in front of me saying, Bridge, don't worry, we're going to sell out the event for you. And I never asked you to do that in the first place.
I love it's the true definition of leadership, where it's like you don't have to bully people, like do things to get people into action. You just have to inspire yourself enough to be the leader that inspires them into action. Have you always been that way?
Yes, but I lost myself at different points of my life. As a child, I was the leader, the different one. I never felt like I belonged. Like I was little girl in my bedroom. Like I was always pretending to be an elf princess. Like I was always the person in the friend group that was different, that I couldn't quite fit in one group. I could like adapt to other groups. Same thing when I went to college. I never felt like I joined a sorority and then disaffiliated from it because I was like, I don't like this. And then I tried to be super artsy and then I left that art, like I couldn't fit in. But I didn't realize that that was my superpower. And I think a lot of women who are great leaders, great entrepreneurs are very similar, but they don't tap into that. They don't realize that it's a superpower. And so I lost myself when I went to New York City after college, and I went to a really dark place, and I actually got completely disconnected from God. I stopped going to church. I stopped believing. I started saying things like universe, spirit. Like I just lost myself. I was walking to work crying every day. I was working so many extra jobs to afford New York City's, my student loan debt. I was just talking about this. I would take ZQuil at night to fall asleep because I was so stressed. I was literally tranquilizing myself. And I'll never forget it. One day in New York, I was standing in my kitchen on the Upper East Side, and I got a cold DM from some coach that wanted me to work with her. And I thought it was so expensive. I think it was $800. And I said yes. And thank God I did, because through that coaching with her, she didn't teach me anything. She didn't give me a framework or how to step by step. But what she did do, and I believe this is the most powerful thing in coaching, is she woke me up. And she saw me and was like, Bridget, this is not who you are. You're going to do better. And it lit that spark inside of me that had literally burned out. Maybe it was so small, like maybe a little flame was still there, but it lit the spark, and it allowed me to take bigger action. It allowed me to do riskier things. And I quit that job and got a new job, and I started a ton of online businesses that I sucked at first. I started trying things and putting myself out there. And that's when I realized that my superpower was the fact that I didn't belong, that I wasn't meant to be in the Matrix 9 to 5 reality and be the sorority girl or be super artsy and try and fit in these molds I was actually destined to lead. And when I started to own that in entrepreneurship, and when you start to own that in entrepreneurship, that you are different, that you are a weirdo, that you are crazy, and you're not meant to blend in, that's when you really start to lead and find out what you're actually here to lead on and what topics you're meant to teach on and mentor on in your life to spread that work with other women.
What made you say yes to the DM?
She had the life that I wanted. I had never seen a woman. She was so beautiful. She was happy. She was glowing. She had this amazing body. She was jet setting. So she lived in between New York City and LA. She was making 6 figures per year. And at the time, I thought legendary. Like I was making $62,000 a year. And then I took a pay cut and was making $50,000 a year. And so she had the life that I desired. And this is why I always say, when you are the walking sales page, you don't have anything to prove. When you're an actual embodiment of the work that you teach, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't need evidence. You are the evidence. And so she was that for me. And yeah, she sent a cold DM and she changed my life forever.
That's insane. And then it sends you on this whole identity shift. I was talking with Shosh at the last ClickFunnels, I think, where it was like why certain people invest in themselves and why they don't. And it's that ROI. And I feel like after your first investment is when you actually start to build that ROI with yourself, where you're like, I'll take any risk. I'll do anything. I'll be the leader. I'll do the things, because now you're seeing, oh, this pays off because now I'm closer to becoming the version of me God has always intended me to be. And that's how I see this whole game, whether you're in sales, whether you're in fitness, whether you're in love, whether it's whatever, it's continually growing to get you closer to being whoever God intended you to be on this planet. And that comes from the identity shifts. That comes from understanding you are your ROI and stepping into these arenas and moving through all of these things, which I think is the greatest gift of this lifetime, which is the coolest thing.
I completely agree. It's like when people are like, I don't know about investing in myself. I'm like, what? What
Yeah,
do
I
you
don't get it.
mean? Yeah, and like what you said, when you fully understand that and you make that, you get the ROI, you're like, I am the best investment. I never second guess investing in myself now because it like I think it was Alex Hormozy who said, why would you invest in the S&P? Which I mean, I do invest in the S&P because make your money, make more money. But
Yeah.
he said, why would you invest in the S&P when you can invest in the S and me? And I absolutely love that quote because it's you really are the best asset if you can continue to invest, and when you continue to invest and learn the skill sets and learn the identity shifts and become that person, you're going to get a much higher ROI on developing your soul, your brain, and your heart than if you poured money into something like even like real estate in general. Rob and I always talk about that. We get so tempted. We're building out a real estate portfolio, and that's great to hold cash and things like that. But we're like, but we can make so much more money when we invest in ourselves and then use that to grow our own businesses and get more money from that than investing in the S&P 500 or something like a real estate portfolio that doesn't really bring that much of a return each year.
And that's when you like trust yourself too. Like it's a true form of trusting yourself of like, do you trust yourself to get this money back in return? And can you go on that journey of true surrender? It might not be right at the exact time. Like it might not be right when the container ends, but it's like over time, you're going to see the compounded interest and have it pay off over time. Where I feel like it's shifted the way that I even view money. I'm like, it's just like fun tokens at this point. Like I'm just like, let's see where it goes. Let's see what we can make. The other question I had, you got engaged at Freedom Queen Live, which is so fun to see and all the stuff. But I know so many women in my audience, they're feeling like they have to choose between being soft or being savage. And someone like you, it's like you're this alpha, you're this leader, you're in this arena, but you have this man that's obsessed with you. And so how has your relationship dynamic changed? Did it evolve over time? Like what's been going on in that dynamic?
Well, when I first met, I love this question. When I first met Robbie, I was broke, but I had the heart. Okay. I had enough heart to like, it looked like I was super wealthy energetically, which is really, really important in making money, anyways. But Robbie, I'll never forget on our first time we ever met, literally the first conversation. I have been praying to God for a while for a man that loves God, loves working out, loves his family, is an entrepreneur, and challenges me in business. Because prior to that relationship, I had really difficult time with men. I was bulldozing relationships. All of the men, or they were super soft. And so they would say things to me like they were yes man type of people. They never challenged me. They were just like, you're great. And yeah, you're going to do it. And I was like, I want somebody who's not just going to gas me up, but someone who's going to look at me and say, I love you so much that I'm going to tell you the truth. And on the first night I met Robbie, he looked at me and said something about my business that was like not rude, but very direct. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember standing up and going to the bathroom and having to like shake it off. Like, like what the heck? Why did you say that to me? Because he was right about what he was saying. And anyways, we ended up moving in together and traveling the world. I never returned to New York City and sold everything I owned. And now we're engaged and have a house in Costa Rica. But with Robbie, the soft and the savage is that I learned something in business, which is, and we've worked on this so much over the last 4 years, is that we have different superpowers. And so my role as a business owner, as a CEO in Freedom Queen is genuinely to have as much fun as I can, to be in play, to be in creation mode, innovation mode, because that's my superpower. When I'm in that mode, that makes me the most money. And Robbie knows this about me. So when I ask for feedback on things from Robbie, he is doing everything and anything to strengthen that side of me. I very rarely ask for advice from him on like the mechanics of the business. Like Robbie doesn't support me in like funnel creation or things like that. What Robbie supports me with is, Bridge, I want you to just go have fun. Bridge, you just need to be your black wild crazy self. Bridge, you just need to be your charismatic person. I need you to be tapped into God more and ask me questions like that, because he knows that when I'm there, I'm making more money. And so what I've had to do is set more boundaries with myself. Because in the beginning of my business, I used to disclose everything with him. I mean, I would tell him about every client problem, every client achievement win, every sale, everything. And what I realized over the last couple of years, and really it was around that like first year to second year, where I discovered I don't need to share everything with him. And this is so great for you and your clients, anyone that's working with you, Laura, listening to this. It's like, that's why they have you. They can share that information with you. They don't need to share everything with their partner. And that allowed me to be able to separate Bridget, the business owner, Bridget, the one who's leading the company and leading the team and the sales and the marketing, and Bridget, the partner. So we have different, we talk about business all the time, but I'm not always sharing 100% of the business with him, because it's not necessary for me to do that, because I have spaces and places that I can actually share and disclose that information with. And so it's been this really healthy boundary of, we have our life together, and then we have our businesses, and then we have the relationship around our businesses as well.
Yeah, I love that. It really is compartmentalizing, like it's figuring out what's a dynamic. How can I hype you up for the thing that you're a genius in? And then putting boundaries. Because I know a lot of people, it's like, I want you to be my everything. I want you to be, my mentor, my therapist, my guru, like all these things. And it's like, no, it's just your partner. Like it really is just your partner, and let that just be it. And I think something that, I watch from the sidelines. I creep on people when they're in love and they're in leadership, because I just, from before I found my now husband, I am looking at other couples being like, how do you guys do it? And I like loved watching your guys' dynamic and how you support each other and things like that. So it's been very expansive. So I love it.
Robbie, I mean, I love meeting your man at FHL. You two together are so sexy. Like just the dynamic and the way you, like your body language, how you hold one another. And what's so cool is you and I met not that long ago, 2023.
Mhm.
And I remember you sitting there, you were glowing at the dinner table, talking about this relationship work. And so it's so cool to see you go from talking about that to like, you are a walking embodiment of the things that you teach for people, like your pregnancy, your marriage, the house you just got, or wherever you guys are living. Like, it's really, really cool to see you living and being in the light of what it is that you teach your clients to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reflection. Is there anything, now we're coming up on ending here. So is there any last things that you want to share?
I love the title of the podcast being Soft and Savage, because something that I have learned over the last couple of years is that you think going through really hard things makes you more savage. And in some ways it does. It makes you, when you go through battles, you're able to fight a better battle the next time and win in a faster and easier way. But something I've learned over the last couple of years is that every battle, you think it's going to thicken your skin and make you this hard robotic person. But I have learned that going through battles and challenges has made me softer. And I think people fear the battle, they fear the challenge, they fear the thing, because they think it's going to make them like hard and closed off and not want to talk to anyone and isolate themselves. But a battle will soften you. And the power is actually in the softness. I always think of it this way, like power is not super loud. It's usually the quietest person in the room that has the most power. And so I love the title of this podcast, is Soft and Savage, because so many women think that in order to be more powerful, they need to get harder and thicker and more robotic and whatever that archetype is. But I have found that the power is in the softness, and you do this so well with the clients that you work with and what you teach on social media.
Thank you. I always think of it like the Grinch, where it's like stretching and your heart's growing bigger and it just goes. And it's like the thing you fear the most. And it's actually the biggest thing that will get you to exactly where you want to go. So you can blend them. But it's been such
The
a pleasure
Grinch.
having you.
I
So
loved it.
I
Robbie and
do
I, we watched The Grinch over Christmas time. I think we cried. We both cried. Like it was the animated Grinch. No, wait, it was the I think Jim Carrey
Jim
one.
Carrey.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great business lesson. Anytime you're feeling out of your mind and want to go crazy, just watch Jim Carrey and you'll be back in your buck wild self. But I think we cried during The Grinch because that's such a good example of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for your wisdom, all things in between. How can people connect with you?
My Instagram, come on over. If you like it, stay. If not, that's cool. Bridget James Ling on Instagram is the best place.
Perfect. And we'll have everything in the show notes. And you'll know how it is. If this landed on your heart, share it with someone, rate, review, all the things, because it means the world. So we can get more incredible humans like Bridget on here. And you can come hang out over on my Instagram, which is @ITS Laura Patricia Martin. Yes, I have to spell it out because people get confused. But that is all. And we will see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.